On Monday, October 20th, 2025, the world awoke to what seemed like an ordinary day. But as the sun rose and people reached for their devices, something was off. The familiar buzz of notifications was missing, and screens that usually flickered with life remained stubbornly blank. The digital world went eerily quiet. In homes, offices, and public spaces, confusion quickly spread. People stared at their phones, waiting for messages that never arrived. Newsrooms, usually bustling with the latest updates, sat in silence, their monitors dark and idle. A major outage at Amazon Web Services, or AWS, had struck without warning, disrupting online services on a global scale. Apps failed to load, websites crashed, and the digital infrastructure that powers our daily lives simply stopped working. For millions, it was as if the internet itself had vanished. Daily tasks became impossible. People couldn't check their emails, pay bills, or even order food. In cafes and offices, frustration mounted as devices refused to connect. The outage didn't just inconvenience, it paralyzed routines and left many feeling helpless. This massive glitch exposed the fragility of our interconnected internet. The outage rippled across continents, affecting communication, business operations, and even emergency services. IT professionals scrambled to diagnose the problem, their screens filled with red alerts and error messages. The impact wasn't limited to the digital world. Physical activities like airport operations ground to a halt. Flights were delayed, departure boards flashed, delayed or canceled, and staff struggled to coordinate without their usual digital tools. The outage was a wake-up call, revealing just how much we rely on a handful of tech giants to keep our world running. From small businesses to global corporations, everyone felt the shockwaves of a single point of failure. It raised urgent questions. Why do so many companies depend on one service? What are the risks of putting so much trust in a single provider? In boardrooms and living rooms alike, people began to reconsider their digital choices. This event forced us to confront the vulnerabilities of our centralized internet. It highlighted the need for stronger security, better backup systems, and more diverse infrastructure to protect against future disruptions. As the world recovered, one thing became clear. We must build a more resilient digital future, one where our connections are stronger, our systems more secure, and our reliance on any single company is a thing of the past. AWS, or Amazon Web Services, is the backbone of the internet as we know it today. While most people interact with websites, apps, and online services without a second thought, few realize that AWS is quietly powering much of this digital activity behind the scenes. Think of AWS as the invisible engine that keeps the modern world running, providing the essential infrastructure that allows businesses, governments, and individuals to connect, communicate, and innovate at a global scale. In many ways, AWS functions like a digital utility provider, similar to how electricity or water is delivered to your home. Instead of physical resources, AWS delivers computing power, storage, and networking capabilities over the internet, on demand. This means that companies no longer need to build and maintain their own expensive data centers. They can simply rent what they need, when they need it, from AWS. By renting out vast amounts of computing power and storage, AWS enables companies of all sizes to operate online efficiently and cost-effectively. From startups launching new apps to global enterprises running mission-critical systems, AWS provides the flexibility and scalability required to meet ever-changing demands. This has revolutionized the way businesses approach technology, making innovation more accessible than ever before. The scale of AWS is truly immense. Its sprawling network of data centers spans the globe, powering millions of applications and websites every single day. Whether you're streaming a movie, shopping online, or collaborating with colleagues, there's a good chance AWS is working in the background to make it all possible. But with such scale comes vulnerability. When the US East 1 region, one of AWS's most critical hubs, experienced an outage, the effects rippled across the internet. Major websites and services went offline. Businesses lost access to essential tools, and millions of users were suddenly reminded of just how dependent we are on this digital infrastructure. AWS's remarkable success has inspired other tech giants like Microsoft and Google to build their own cloud platforms, further increasing our reliance on a handful of providers. This growing concentration of power in the hands of a few companies means that a single failure can have far-reaching consequences for the entire digital ecosystem. This concentration poses significant risks. If one of these major cloud providers experiences a disruption, it can trigger a domino effect, causing countless services and businesses to falter. The interconnected nature of our digital world means that a single point of failure can have a cascading impact, affecting everything from communication to commerce. The recent outage was a wake-up call, exposing just how reliant our society has become on this invisible engine. When AWS falters, the effects are felt everywhere, from small businesses to global corporations, and from individual users to entire industries. This event raised urgent questions about the stability and resilience of our digital economy. How can we ensure that the systems we depend on are robust enough to withstand unexpected failures? What steps can businesses and governments take to protect themselves from future disruptions? The outage highlighted the importance of diversification in cloud services. By spreading their operations across multiple providers, companies can reduce their risk and build more resilient systems. This approach not only protects against outages, but also encourages healthy competition and innovation in the cloud industry. As more and more services migrate to the cloud, the risk of centralization continues to grow. It's essential for organizations to carefully consider how they structure their digital infrastructure, balancing the benefits of cloud computing with the need for security and reliability. Ultimately, the AWS outage served as a stark reminder of the fragility of our digital world. As we continue to build our lives and businesses on these invisible foundations, we must remain vigilant, proactive, and prepared for the unexpected. The problem began quietly at 3:11 a.m. EDT. AWS detected increased error rates, signaling trouble in the U.S. East 1 region. By 4:26 a.m., it became a major incident, acknowledged publicly. User complaints flooded social media as apps and websites failed. The issue was traced to a DNS problem affecting DynamoDB. By 5:27 a.m., services began recovering. The crisis ended at 6:35 a.m., restoring normal operations. The outage lasted over 3 hours, causing significant disruption. It demonstrated the fragility of the Internet's centralized core. The event was a real-world lesson in digital dependency. Imagine the Internet as a vast, bustling library, filled with endless shelves and millions of books. In this analogy, DNS acts as the library's address book, helping you find exactly where each book is located, while DynamoDB is like a specific shelf where important books are stored and accessed quickly. Now picture what happens if, one day, the address book goes missing or becomes unreadable. On that Monday, that's exactly what happened. The address book failed to locate a crucial section, leaving both librarians and visitors confused and unable to find what they needed. DNS, or Domain Name System, is the technology that translates easy-to-remember website names into the numerical IP addresses that computers use to communicate. Without DNS, it's like trying to find a book in the library without knowing its location code. Nearly impossible, no matter how well-stocked the shelves are. During the outage, DNS stopped working properly, which meant that computers and apps couldn't find the digital address for DynamoDB. This effectively cut off access to the database, even though the database itself was still there, ready and waiting. DynamoDB is a high-performance, cloud-based database service used by countless applications to store and retrieve data at lightning speed. It's a critical component for many modern apps, from social media to online shopping. But without DNS, these apps couldn't even find DynamoDB, let alone access the data they needed. As a result, users everywhere experienced errors, glitches, and failures, as their favorite apps suddenly lost the ability to function. The real problem wasn't with DynamoDB itself, but with the system responsible for helping apps locate it. When DNS failed, it was like the map to the treasure was lost, even though the treasure was still buried in the same spot. This meant that apps couldn't log users in, process transactions, or retrieve any information. Everyday activities like shopping online, checking your bank account, or even logging into work tools became impossible for millions of people. All of this happened because a single point of failure, the DNS, created a massive domino effect. One small breakdown in the system led to a chain reaction, impacting services and users around the world. In total, 28 AWS services went down, affecting countless applications and millions of users globally. The outage made headlines and served as a wake-up call for the tech industry. This event highlighted the risks of relying too heavily on centralized digital infrastructure. When one critical component fails, the consequences can ripple out far and wide, disrupting businesses and daily life. Ultimately, it underscored the urgent need for a more resilient and distributed internet architecture, one that can withstand failures and keep our digital world running smoothly, no matter what happens behind the scenes. The AWS outage triggered a massive domino effect. Communication apps like WhatsApp and Slack went silent. Streaming services and games like Fortnite were disrupted. Financial apps like Venmo became unresponsive. Even airlines and smart home devices were affected. The outage showed how much our physical world relies on the cloud. It was a powerful reminder of our digital dependency. Companies scrambled to communicate with users during the outage. Social media became the primary channel for updates. Coinbase and Signal quickly acknowledged the AWS issue. The British government's website was also affected. The incident highlighted the public sector's reliance on cloud providers. Companies were powerless, waiting for AWS to resolve the issue. The event underscored the complex relationship with cloud providers. The AWS outage raises questions about internet centralization. Cloud computing offers convenience and economic power. AWS democratized technology access, enabling startups to thrive. The cloud landscape is dominated by AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. This concentration creates dependency and risks. The internet's original decentralized design is now re-centralized. A problem at one company can have global consequences. Many apps are tenants in the same digital building. The outage showed how a single glitch can disrupt multiple services. It highlighted the need for diversification in digital infrastructure. The outage was a symptom of a larger problem: centralization. Experts warn of risks associated with reliance on few cloud providers. The internet was designed as a resilient, distributed network. Centralization creates new points of failure, making the system brittle. It also poses threats to free speech and secure communication. The outage was not isolated. Similar events have occurred before. These crises reveal hidden dependencies in interconnected systems. Experts advocate for diversification and decentralized models. The event was a warning about trading resilience for efficiency. It urged us to prioritize a more robust digital future. The AWS outage was a lesson in digital architecture. It revealed our dependence on a few tech giants. The event highlighted the need for digital diversification. Companies may adopt multi-cloud strategies to avoid shutdowns. Users must recognize the social and political aspects of internet structure. The outage fuels conversations about regulation and decentralization. It was a stress test for the internet, revealing vulnerabilities. The event should catalyze change for a more resilient future. We must learn from cloud computing failures to ensure stability. The goal is to prevent future disruptions from affecting global communication and commerce.